go down. We arrive on the planet, and it's just such a far out, such an overwhelming welcome of soul family. I don't know. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, and these beautiful, incredible beings came up to meet me and be with me and celebrate this almost return. And in that, you start to morph from a human figure into their figure, them. You start to change your whole physicality.
What did they look like, Marcus? Welcome to Galactic Guidance, the show that channels the wisdom of beings from higher realms. Join us as we tap into the cosmic consciousness and receive messages of clear guidance to help us navigate our spiritual evolution on planet Earth. So sit back, relax, and let's connect into the higher frequency. Hello everybody, welcome to a very exciting episode of Galactic Guidance. We are going to be talking about what life is like on another planet.
Ooh, let's do that. That could be fun.
It's a planet that Marcus Bird is actually from. So welcome, Marcus.
Hey, thank you, Eleni. Great to be here.
I'm excited about this conversation because it started last episode.
It did.
Where you started to talk about, this really interesting topic at the end of the episode, and I just want to do it justice.
We did.
So let's start with your experience, Marcus. So how about we start with your experience in terms of the first time you visited your planet? Like the very, very first time, if you can take us back there, how that happened and what happened. So if you can just take us through that story.
We are going detailed. This is great. So originally when I started channeling and channeling, the beings that I've channeled, Ameed obviously being the primary person, she wasn't the original one that came in though. This is kind of the interesting thing that I don't often share. Ameed came a year or so down the track of me starting to channel. There was an original being that came through first, and then Ameed sort of followed on from that. It was really Ameed that took me to the home planet. So the original energy or off-world being that I channeled was from near the Lyra system in the Vega star system originally. And Vega is a part of the Lyra system. A little bit like in our sector of the universe, the Pleiades and Orion and a number of other, systems are part of our sort of system. Anyway, the Vegans, the Vega system is part of the Lyra system. And then Ameed came in and took me to my home planet. And so it was probably in the discussion around how everything was created. So we were having these discussions about how the universe was created and what was it about and the stories that she gave me about that. And it was at that point she started talking about original planets and from a soul aspect where we are originally from. And so every soul aspect or every soul that is brought into this universe, it comes from a various sort of home planet, let's call it that way. And so, and I think most of us, so many people that I've worked with now over the years have often said to me, this doesn't feel like home. I feel like I'm a bit of an alien here. I just don't feel like this is my natural environment. And that would be correct. And so I then started a process of taking people to their planets after I was shared the experience. So I was taken one early morning to my home planet to meet and see the environment from sort of which I have originally come from. And the experience was kind of interesting because it was a very much homecoming experience. Not only from being in the environment where it felt like, I don't know, it just feels like I'm almost getting emotional just thinking about it. I mean, how bizarre, because it feels like home. Like it really feels like home, and you're like, oh, thank God. And I think when the time comes to cross back over, that's where I'll go, right? I'll go back to that place and just
Yeah.
reunite with everybody who's there.
Yeah.
And so,
A lot,
and
a
so
lot
that,
of a lot of people who have near-death experiences
yeah, totally.
and they
Okay.
get taken back to their planet,
Yes.
you know how you just got emotional just then,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
get talk about being very emotional because it's like, I'm home and I don't want to
Yeah,
come back.
I
And
know.
also, Dolores Cannon, she's done so many
Yes.
interviews on,
Yes.
and she's regressed people back. And when they go to their home planet, they don't want to leave it. They don't want to
No,
come back.
no.
But before you get into the detail, so do you
Yeah.
have a name for this planet? What is it?
Not a name I can really pronounce. It's not, uh, it's not sort of, it's not in a word that I can pronounce. And I have been, since our last session, I've been thinking about it, trying to say, what's the English version of this? And it's really, it's sort of almost this unnameable sort of thing, right? Because the name is not in our language and it's not in, yeah, it's really
It's more
hard.
like a
I don't even know.
vibration.
Yeah,
Is
it
it more like
is.
a vibration?
I don't even know how to
Yeah.
put my
Okay.
mouth around it to make it, do you know what I mean? Make it real. I don't know.
That's okay.
I just
That's
can't
okay.
name it. It's just a feeling. It's a vibration. It's a resonance. And the way they name things is not obviously in English, and it's very hard to speak in their dialect because we
That's
don't have the
okay.
form to sort of do it, unfortunately. So I can tell you it's in a binary star system, right? So it's in a system with
Okay.
multiple stars. That's the first thing we have to understand. And the interesting thing about living in a multiple star system is that you get multidimensional knowledge brought to you. So when you're in a single star system like we are here on planet Earth, or at least a single star system that's singly active, because there are some rumors now sort of playing out that we are in a binary star system, but the star that's the binary is dead star and it's rotate anyway. But in a single star system, you're receiving information in on one sort of dimensional level. And the best way to explain that is if you were to cover one eye and try and
Hmm.
see depth, feel depth. It's very hard to know exactly where the computer is in front of you. It's like, oh, I think it's there. When you've got two eyes, you go, oh, there it is. When you've only got one eye, it's like, oh, am I there? Am I there? Oh, there I am. And that's what it's like living on a single star system versus a binary or multiple star system, because we get our information, a lot of it from the sun, from light. So the deeper knowledge and wisdom comes through the light, right? Because the sun holds the deeper universal wisdom, and part of its shining is to share information, right? Just at a
Okay.
basic level. So in a multiple star system, you're getting a multi-dimensional view on the reality of what's going on.
It's expansive. So
Totally.
Marcus, tell us how you actually got there. How did you so let's take it step by step.
Sure, sure,
So
sure.
how did I want to almost you describe the experience as if it's happening again so that people
Yeah, yeah,
can really feel into it. So how did you
yeah,
get there?
yeah. So as you know, I spend a lot of time meditating in a pyramid, and this is how it all started. They gave me a pyramid to meditate in, and I've been meditating in a pyramid now for, 30 years or so. But at the time, I was meditating in my pyramid, and what happened is Ameed comes into the pyramid, we sit opposite each other, and we have a conversation. And this time, she came in with the invitation to come to the planet. And so it's almost like how I would describe it is almost like having a meditation within a meditation. So in the meditation, we go into a deeper state, which is a meditation inside a meditation. And then there's like a portal or gateway or sort of like a wormhole sort of thing into the next planetary dimension and back to the home planet. So we're sitting there, we're chatting. She's giving me some information about what's about to happen and how to handle the experience, I suppose, from an earthly point of view. And you've got to remember at the time, I wasn't fully into this. I wasn't fully, I was still having these almost, yeah, what I would thought of as hallucinations or delusions or whatever. So I'm still at a very early stage with this. And so she was prepping me for the journey. And then she started to lead me deeper into myself, into the darkness, into the blackness, and then into this sort of portal or gateway. And there was a bit of ritual and sacredness around it. So there was a bit of ceremony around it. She sort of prepared my body for the journey, and my soul and consciousness and whatever else you want to think about. And then we started to travel down this portal, wormhole, gateway journey thing. And as we were moving through that, all sorts of things were happening. It wasn't just visual, sort of seeing sort of space and time rushing behind me, but it was also almost like a recalibration of the consciousness that was happening at the same time. And then as we came to the end of this, we sort of popped out above the planet, as if we were like on planet Earth in space, right? Like on the space station. So we sort of popped out above the planet and we hovered there for some time, again, as a bit of a preparation and as a sacredness to prepare me for what I was about to experience. Because it is quite overwhelming when you go there. I'm just tearing up again, like so bizarre. I don't talk about this very often, so it's kind of interesting that that's the emotion I'm having, because there's just this overwhelming love and joy and happiness, and probably more important, a level of relaxedness that I don't have on planet Earth. Do you know what I mean? Like there's this buzz on planet Earth and we're trying to, I don't know, we're trying to almost fit in. And that reflects in our day-to-day life where we're trying to fit in with friends and family and work and community. And there's this constant trying to fit in, right? Whereas when I went there, just even being above the planet, there was this relaxation that washed over me that I'd never experienced before. Of I don't have to be anyone. I can just be me, like fully, you know? And we're all striving to do that here on planet Earth, right? It's one of the reasons we sort of come here, we drop our consciousness, we try desperately to come back to that space. But it's kind of interesting because it's hard to come, you know, there's lots of memes and chats about, oh, be the fullest you can be and step into your potential and just be you, right? But until you've been to your home planet, I don't think you know who that is. I really don't. I think you have a concept of it, right? That I can be more and make more and have more and blah, 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 right? But I don't know whether you really get a concept of it till you've stood outside your home planet and prepared to arrive.
Yeah, I
So,
hear what you're saying. I hear what
like,
you're
it's a
saying
kind of
because
weird. Yeah.
it almost feels like as we grow and as we expand from a spiritual perspective, we work out who we're not as opposed to
Yeah,
who we are.
totally. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
who we work out. So I went to a
Yeah.
party on the weekend that was really old style kind of reception center party. And
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I said to Christian, I just don't feel like I belong there anymore.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that used to be the
totally.
kind of environment where I used to have so much fun. And it's just like,
I hear.
and then sometimes you catch up with old set of friends and you're like, and I was like, I don't think I belong there anymore. And
I
it's
know.
like,
Then you wonder
you're
where you
trying to
do
work out,
belong. It's like, where do
where
I
do you
belong?
belong?
That's right.
Where do I belong?
And once you go
And what you're
here, you
saying is
start to
that you
realize,
belong.
correct.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
you have an understanding of why you're here, right? And you're not here to belong. You're here to shift and change and expand and move consciousness, but you're not here to belong. This is it's a bit like we're in Australia, obviously. It's a bit like we go to England, for example, on a holiday, but a long holiday. So we go there for 6 months, right? And when we're there, we try to fit in and we try to do what we need to do and see all the sights, but we never feel sort of at home. And that flight home is like seeing your planet. You know, the closer you get to Australia, and I always used to love getting on a Qantas plane because I'd hear
Mm,
Australian accents again and it'd be like,
mm,
oh my God, you know, that feeling of, oh my God, it's home. And then as you come into land, you're looking out the window, you go, this feels like home, even though, and that's sort of the feeling you get, but obviously way, way more profound, right? Because once you
yeah,
get back into Australia again, you're like, oh, well, I'm just back into fitting in again,
exactly, exactly.
right?
So tell us, Marcus, let's go back. Let's go back to you arriving at this planet and
Yes.
tell us what happened. What did you see? What
So,
did you feel? What did you
yeah,
hear? You
yeah,
said
yeah.
what you felt, but what did you hear? What did you see?
So we journeyed down to the planet through the atmosphere, and it was a slowish journey down onto the planet. And then it was this God, I'm going to get emotional again. This is so weird. Like, so weird what's happening, because it's beyond my thinking right now. Like, it's actually beyond, it's so bizarre. God. Anyway, so we go down, we arrive on the planet, and it's just such a, far out, such an overwhelming welcome of soul family. I don't know. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, and these beautiful, incredible beings came up to meet me and be with me and celebrate this almost return. And in that, you start to morph from a human figure into their figure, them. You start to change your whole physicality.
What did they look like, Marcus?
They're these just, I don't even know how to describe it. There's these beautiful, tall, thin, soft beings. Like, if you can imagine, I don't know, this is not going to do it any justice, but you imagine a being made out of Play-Doh or something. I know that sounds weird, but it's just this, I don't know, because the beings on this planet are silicon-based beings, not carbon-based beings. So they're really soft. There's nothing hard. There's nothing hard on the planet. Right? We have lots of hard lines here on the planet. That's one thing that really, I don't know whether it surprised me, but I was really nice. Is that everything's round, sort of round. Like nothing, there's no hard lines. Everything's soft and gentle and round and I don't know. I'm not doing it any justice, right? Anyway, so when we got there, just all these beautiful beings came up to say hello and celebrate, and yeah, it was really overwhelming. You know, it's like a whole lot of beings rushed towards you just to be with you. And then after that initial, I suppose, welcome, I was then taken into a pyramid there, and there was just some initiation sort of stuff that played out in that pyramid, which was sort of like an acclimation, like acclimatizing me to this, because I know at the time my senses were really overwhelmed, so I could only see a certain amount of things. So when you go to your home planet, often the experience is that you don't see everything, not the first time, because your body and your consciousness, because you're still taking a bit of the earth consciousness and you haven't really met the consciousness you had there. And so your earth consciousness is desperately trying to grapple with everything you're seeing, because none of it really makes sense, because it often looks different to what is here, right? So even as I say to you, everything's soft and round and there's no hard edges, you know, you're bringing up a vision of round buildings and round trees and round things, and it's not even like that, really. So that's the interesting thing when I first arrived, is the acclimation and taken into the pyramid to learn things and to reacclimatize to some degree. And then there's been many, many other trips since to continue that sort of acclimation and remember who you really are. I think that's just taken a number of different trips to do that. The other highlight, I suppose, that I took from it is that the planet has very much a red hue to it. It's got this reddish tinge to it, and things like the water, and yeah, I think I said last time, like if our planet's green and blue, their planet, or that my home planet, is a reddish orangey sort of planet. Now,
So your
kind of,
family here,
yeah,
Marcus, your family
yes,
here, your
my Earth
biological,
family, yeah,
your Earth family,
yeah.
do they come from the same planet or do they come
No,
from, they
no, no,
don't?
no, no. They're different.
S-
They come from different planet. Not always. Sometimes your family come from the same planet, but it's not often that that's the case. People you meet along the journey, for sure, sometimes come from your home planet, without a doubt. And the way I've learnt that or known that, not just from a feeling, but then taking them into this and seeing where they go. So when I take someone to their home planet, I have no influence on how that plays out or where you actually go, right? We're just drawn, and Ameed helps, and, you know, other beings help that to appear. But when I've taken some people, they've gone to the same planet. And I've gone,
Okay.
okay, they're from yeah, our planet.
And did you feel a special affinity to those people?
Yeah, you do. There's definitely, often you'll meet people as you go around the world, in your travels, and you go, oh, I'm sure, there's some crazy connection we
Mm.
have. And it's not necessarily a romantic connection or any of that.
No,
It's just that very familiar, God, I'm sure we've met each other before. Like, I'm sure maybe it was a past life. And often we joke about it, right? We say, oh, maybe in a past life we knew each other, but sometimes it's really profound and deep, and we go, right, that's definitely, and sometimes that plays out in twin flame relationships. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it plays out in soulmates. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but there's
So how
definitely a
often do you
familiar.
go? How often do you go to this
Uh,
planet?
I don't know. The last time might have been a month ago. Don't go as often as I probably could, mainly because one of the things you just have to be careful of is not get lost, because you're here to do a job, right? So
Yeah.
it's a bit like I've come from the home planet to do a job, right? This is my day job from the home planet. Just happens to last 60, 80, 100 years, you know what I mean? That's the day job, and then you go home. Um, and so you're just careful not to spend too
Too
much
much time
time there,
there.
because I don't know, it'd be a bit like being a FIFO worker for 6 months away from your family and be constantly, you know, being teased about going
Yeah.
back. And then it's like, oh, so I go back, and, from time to time, and I go there sometimes to learn. Often when I'm downloading lots of information, I'll be taken back there. Often when there's learning to be done and, stuff they need to share with me, I'll go back. And then I'll spend a lot of my time in the pyramid learning centers there, the big sort of, I don't know,
Do you socialize there? Apart from learning, do you
do you
socialize?
socialize? Sort of. There's, yeah, the socialize. It's kind of a funny thing to say, because it's sort of like that and sort of not like that. The communication process is not talking. There's not a talking that happens. There's just this sharing of resonant frequency that sends the information to each other. Um, I spent time, yeah, in the community, and observed and watched and asked questions about, how do you live, and what do you eat or consume, or how do you sustain life, and sort of played with those concepts from a bit of an earthly point of view. But most of the time when I go there, it's about learning and awakening and expanding the consciousness, so I can do more of the work I have to do here, or I want to do here.
Mm.
So that's more of the
And
journey.
yeah, so it's more about, okay, let's learn what we can to do the
Yeah,
job that we're here to do,
correct,
because that's
correct.
what you want to do. That's why you're
Without
here.
getting distracted
But
too much, right?
without getting
By,
distracted, but
yeah,
just from an interest, like a just a curiosity perspective,
of
what was
course.
something that you learned from them, in terms of the way that they lived, which you found fascinating?
Oh, I think the most exciting, fascinating thing is just how they materialize everything they need. So, so there's no galactic shopping center. I'm sorry to tell some people, there's no big shopping center that they go to and, purchase and buy stuff. They just materialize things out of what we would consider thin air, right? It seems magic, but it's not magic. And uh, they have access to the creation, the fullness of creation cycle, as in they can command whatever particles are needed to bring something together, and then just have it materialize just there. So there's no wanting. No one wants anything. There is no wanting. There's no
Mm.
needing. So this is another reason why it's so calming to be there, and why this is such a bizarre place we live in, is that there's no one wants anything. No one
Mm.
needs anything, because the minute there's something that you want or need in an earthly construct, that's not even a concept they even associate with, then they just sort of like put their hand out, and there it is.
There it is. Do
That's
they have special relationships, as in you've got a special relationship with your wife? I've got a special relationship with my partner.
yeah, yeah,
Are
yeah.
there special relationships, or is everyone of the same kind? You love everybody kind of thing.
The closest thing we'd ever have here is that whole saying of, it takes a village to raise a child. That is the that is sort of the philosophy there. Like it's very hard to see a separation of our mum and a dad and there's a family unit and there's a family unit. There's none of that sort of stuff. So it
Okay.
is
It's a
very
very special
community
relationship.
orientated. It is
There's
community
no.
orientated, and there are these sort of okay, I'm just trying to these journeying groups that might connect together to create and do certain things, but it's fluid. So there's not
Okay.
you're married to that person and you're in a relationship with that person. It would be seen as a much more fluid thing based on what you're trying to create. And a lot of
Uh-huh.
their work is focused on expanding the universe and caretaking the universe, so to speak. Because a lot of these original planets, which is where most of us are carriers over of another dimensional universe, right? So they're like the seeded planets that started here. And then what happens with these seeded planets is that their role is to assist in the expansion of the universe. So as planets come online, as in ready to be seeded, they go out and sort of play that role. And well, them and others, it's not just where I'm from, but other planets as well, go out and then help seed the galaxy to continue the consciousness expansion of the galaxy.
Wonderful.
So we're
So,
a
Marcus,
seeded planet. Yeah,
I'm going to ask you one final question
please.
before we just bring in Ameed, just to give us like final comments.
Sure. Sure. We're
So,
reversing it today. I'm doing a
we're
lot of the talking.
reversing
Ameed's going
today.
to give us the final comments. I love it.
Just a final comments. Yeah.
That's okay.
So, I've got one final question, which
Yeah.
is, what was, because you went there to learn.
Yeah.
If you can, I know this will be difficult because there'll be so much, but the one thing that was so profound that changed the way that you experience life here, what was the one thing that you brought here in the way that you experience life? The one learning that you got from that planet that really helped you and supported you to do what you needed to do here?
And I think the one thing I keep trying to remember is none of this matters. As in, we take it way too seriously. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is just a game
Yeah.
we're playing here. It's just a game. It's a transient game we're playing, and it doesn't really matter. And the whole death experience then became different for me. So there's less worry or fear or, do you know what I mean? Like there's none of that
I do.
played out. So there's a lot of more freedom, I think. A lot more freedom.
Yeah.
I still get
When you know
caught
that.
in the earthly person, right? I still get caught like everyone. I still have fears and doubts and hesitations and all of that stuff still plays out, which is kind of ironic anyway. But yeah, I'm able to do. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably a big thing that came. That
I've got that
there's a lot
in
more
my book
freedom.
that
Have
I'm
you?
writing.
Oh,
Yeah, because
cool.
that was one of the most profound learnings that I had too,
Yeah,
was
totally.
that we take everything too seriously.
Yeah, way,
And when
way.
we take away the seriousness, the experience changes.
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah,
does. So I think
totally.
that was helpful. That was helpful.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a
That's my
blessed
number one that I've
experience.
got in my book.
I
My
like it.
number one mind-bending revelation is
Yeah,
about
yeah,
delusion and what
yeah,
that means. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's kind of funny, and just how we get caught up in all the delusion and illusion that's playing out here, and yeah, it's kind of an
fears.
interesting dance to watch, but also to be able to see it at a dimensional level. I think understanding the multidimensional reality we exist in and start to be able to see dimensionally is really helpful to be able to see what's truly real and not real and what's going on and what's not going on. And yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
it's good.
All right. Well, let's just bring in Ami just to give us some final comments about
Sure.
anything that we've discussed or whatever else she wants to bring in. Just some final
Yeah, we
comments.
can
So
do that.
let's bring her in.
Okay, let's do that. All right, sounds good. She's been very vocal over the last couple of days too, by the way. Very, very busy. Busy.
I can't wait to hear what she has to say. I love talking to her.
Hmm. March is in the joyness of the interdimensional experience of being in this of the spaceness. And one of the aspects we wish you to be in much of the awareness is the sacredness of this and of the every momentness, just the what you be calling of the beauty of the sacredness of the every momentness. This is one of the much of the importance that we wish for you to be of the understanding. One of the aspects that what you consider of your the intelligence of the ancient ones that you keep on being in the referringness to, and you look back on and think to yourselves, they must have been much more of the smartness and much more of the intelligence to be able to create such amazing of the constructs. And we would be of the saying to you that the difference between this of the momentness and that of the momentness is in the sacredness of the keepingness of the moments in time and of the space, being able to connect into of the sacredness of the moments of the time and of the space. And as you be thinking of, and as you be of the communication with what you consider being of the home planet, one of the most important aspects to this is to be of the honoring of the sacredness of the journey back to be meeting of your homeness, but also the sacredness of you being in this space and in this moment in the timeless. For this is part of the grandness of the mission that we are all collectively on as members of the universal of the family of the lightness. We are all here to be helping in the expansion of the universal construct. This has been an ongoing of the mission through many of the universal existences, through much of the multi-dimensional universe of time and of the spaceness. Consciousness being one of the most important aspects. And if you were wishing to be of the amplification of this consciousness, then connecting into the sacredness of the journey, to being connecting in of the sacredness of each of the aspects of the mission that you are being on the here-ness and of the grander universal construct. This is of the importance.
It is a sacred journey back home from everything that I have heard and everything that I have read, and certainly witnessing Marcus talk about it today. And I can't wait to have that experience myself. So thank you very much, Ameed. Is there anything else that you would like to say here today before we close?
You will be much of the lovingness of the journey back onto your home of the planetness. There is many wishing to be of the welcoming, to have you be of the returning. And in this on the moment, in time and space, where we are working towards the expansion of consciousness, to assist in the expansion of the universe, being of the connected to your homeness can be of the helpfulness. Therefore, you can be seeing that this is the mission that you are being chosen to journey on, and of the trueness. You can then be much more of the focusedness on this journey and not be of the caught up in all of the other aspects that are playing out to destabilize you in this reality. You must remember, when you are going on the jobness, when you are traveling for of your earthly of the workness, often this is you are working through and moving through many of the environments and many different of the peoples, and this is in itself much of a destabilized activity that you are journeying on. And this is exactly what is happening here. As you have journeyed on to this planetary construct, you are seeing much of the destabilized nature. This is much due to many of the beings that are coming here onto what we'd be calling of the seeded planet. desperately trying to be of the expansion nature and trying to remember the mission that you have been of the choosing, the reason that you have been of the coming. When you are experiencing of the homeness, you start to begin to realize the freedom of what that existence is, of the meaning. You be able to connect into that deeper aspect of who you are. You'll be able to connect into much more of the feeling of the comfortableness being in this, of the jobness, that you are here on the purposeness, that you are journeyed here because of your wishing, not by of the accident, not by of the disappointment, but because you are being choosing to be in this space. You will feel of the freedom, you will feel of the joyness, and we will be happy to be of the meeting once again. Many are waiting for being of the meeting, and you will experience of the overwhelmingness of the joyness being in of the earthly experience. You will see yourself as a much more of an expanded universal being, much of the welcoming to have you be of the returning, much of the joyness.
Thank you, Ameed. Thank you so much. Very
Much
excited.
of the joyness. I don't think we've ever done such a short channeling, have we?
No.
But yeah,
So
lots to come.
I've got a question for you, which
Of
is
course,
that Ameed talks about me going back to my
totally.
planet.
Totally.
Is that definitely going to happen? Like, I know you said you'll facilitate that, you and Ameed will facilitate that for me, but
Totally.
like,
Well, we're
but can
catching
that
up
help?
soon.
Yeah, but I mean, even when we catch up, is that
Sure.
definitely going to happen? Or is there some sort of,
Possibly.
or is it possible for me not to get there, is what I'm saying?
Possibly. Everyone's different that I've taken on this journey. Some get there straight away. Some take a number of sessions to get there. You know, you've done a lot of
Okay.
preparation already, so I don't think it would take a long time for you. But if it was someone who hadn't been through the preparation, either through a life-changing illness or in, other cases, plant medicine, sacred ceremonies, blah, 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 then it can take a lot longer because there's a preparation of consciousness to be able to go there, because it is overwhelming, right? My preparation was chronic fatigue and being incredibly ill and having all those dimensional experiences. Your preparation's probably been what you've been through. And so I wouldn't think it'll take too much, but you never know until you go, right? You never know until you get there that it may be too overwhelming for the consciousness, and then it's little steps to get into the space. I don't think that'll happen for you, but just for everyone else who's listening, who might think, oh, it happens in one session and I go there, and not always. If you haven't done the work, if you haven't expanded enough, then it can be really overwhelming to go there, and it can blow circuits. And people who try to quicken without being prepared to quicken, right, can have all sorts of negative psychological issues if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
So
is there anything I can do to prepare?
I just think you've already prepared, and it's about expanding your consciousness. So it's about opening up to whatever the potentiality of what you're going to see and allowing yourself to be okay with that. And there's two protection mechanisms here that they set in place. One is, if you're not ready, you won't go there anyway, right? Because I can't force you to go there. I can only guide you, and right. So if the consciousness isn't ready, you won't really go far, right? That's the first protection. The second protection is when you get there, you'll see what you see, and every time you go, you'll see more because your brain expands further, right? To be able to, because the thing that shuts it down is you go thinking to see a house or a building or a tree or a rock or something you're familiar with here, and all of a sudden you start seeing, it's like having a, when you do psychedelics, for example, or do plant medicine, and you see weird, strange colors and things, right? And the plant medicine sort of forces that on you. It takes control and forces that on you. This way we do it is obviously gentle, as in you open up to see what you see when you see it. But everything's like that psychedelic thing, because everything's different than you imagine here. Nothing's the same. So you've just got to keep opening the consciousness to be prepared for that. And it's just like plant medicine. You do sacred ceremony. There's a sacredness about it. There's a preparation about it. it's not just something you go, okay, let's just go tomorrow and yay. There's a little bit of stuff that happens on the journey. And if you've already done enough work, then the journey keeps going and you get there. If you haven't done enough work, the journey stops at the point, and then you do the next sacred ceremony thing and you go a bit further and you go a bit further and eventually you land. So some people don't sort of take off from Earth until they're ready. Some people hover above the planet for a few sessions until they're ready. So it's just different for different folk. But you've done a lot of work in this space, so I wouldn't think that'd be overly, you're not starting from scratch, let's put it that way.
Well, this will be very interesting to share on this
It will be.
episode. So
It will be
Marcus
really
has
interesting.
visited his planet. You've visited your planet now for 30
Multiple.
years,
Oh,
and
yeah,
every time you
multiple
go,
times.
you learn something more, you see something more, you
Expands
feel
further.
something more.
Totally. Yeah, without a doubt.
Expands further. I have never been, so I'm really excited. Next week, Marcus is coming over to my place,
and we'll do some stuff.
See what happens.
I think the most important thing to realize, and probably the thing to prep for, is don't be surprised if when you first go there, it doesn't feel amazing or crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you're only going to see what the consciousness is ready to see. So the feeling is the key thing to get. Like, you'll go there and you'll have this overwhelming feeling. Forget what you actually imagine or see, because that morphs and changes as you expand your consciousness. It's really the feeling that you'll get that happens pretty quick from day one. But the things you see in the community, and do they, that practical stuff of do they live in houses and what do they eat, and that stuff unfolds, right? You're not going to get that the first time you go, because there's no construct in your head to get that. So that builds over time. So that's the only thing to be prepared for, that it might seem a bit mundane. So, because sometimes when people go there first, they go, oh, I didn't see anything crazy or terribly amazing. And I go, no, you're not ready to. Next time you go, wow, I didn't see that before. Next time, wow, that's there. Next time, oh my God. And it gets more and more kaleidoscope amazing as you go. Mm-hmm. That tends to be what happens.
Well, that's exciting.
Yay.
So we'll take people on the journey with us.
We'll take them on the journey
of what will happen or what will not happen. But what I do know from the experiences that I have had in the past is that the more you're attached to, it has to be a certain way.
Correct.
The more it won't be a certain way.
Correct.
So
you just got to be open. You just got to be open to receive whatever you receive, to see whatever you see, etc., etc. And once you're connected, and that's the key that I facilitate, is the connection, and then you just go there anytime you like. Do you know what I mean? Then you just take time to go there and see what you see. It's just the connection first that's the key, and that's the hardest part, and that's what I'll help facilitate.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It's going to be great.
Thank you, Marcus. There's a lot. So
there's a lot.
I think that you need to start writing volume 1, because there's a lot.
There's a ton. Yeah, there's plenty of volumes, that's for sure. So, yeah, it's underway. So it's all good. Excellent. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Eleni.
See ya.
And I'll see you next week. Ciao.
Thank you for tuning in to Galactic Guidance. We hope that the messages that you receive from the higher realms have brought you clarity, insight, and comfort. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Remember to stay connected to your own inner guidance and trust the journey ahead.